Hi, welcome to Control and Compound with Darren Mitchell. I'm your host, and joining me today is Christina Wyatt, wealth coach at Control and Compound Financial. Christina, monthly update time. What's going on?
Hey Darren, great to be back for another monthly update. It's November, so we've got, those, we're going to go through a few of those big news headlines, some of the announcements that we've seen come out this past month, and then chat about a bit about what we've got going on at Control and Compound.
Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is interest rates. Bank of Canada announced a 50 basis points increase in interest rates, a little lower than the economists were predicting, a 75 basis points. So there's probably still more to come, but a 50-point basis increase. If you put that in perspective to a mortgage, if you have a variable or if you have a fixed that's renewing or you're buying a new place, to go on a $500,000 mortgage, so a $500,000 mortgage from 5.25 to 5.75, that's about $150 extra a month. So it's pretty tough to find cash flowing properties out there today. It just got a little bit tougher and it could get even tougher down the road. So an extra $150 is the equivalent of half a point increase on a $500,000 mortgage. Okay, Christina, what's the next one on our list?
So with that, with those interest rates rising, they are, the reason behind that is inflation. So we do want to give an update on where inflation sits. And right now in Canada, inflation sitting at 6.86%. So that is down from 7.01% last month, but obviously not enough down for Bank of Canada. So that's why we're seeing those interest rates. And in the US, they're actually at 8.2% compared to 8.26% last month. So down a little bit again. But last year it was 5.39% there. And it was 4.38% here last year. So those interest rates are still up. We haven't seen those start to go backwards so that we can see these Bank of Canada interest rates slow down. It's still up, the inflation.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the Bank of Canada is inflation based, and they were expecting inflation to be 6.7%, and it came in at that 6.9 in September. So that's why we saw the Bank of Canada increase because inflation was higher than expected. But yeah, it's we're certainly not out of the woods yet, and we get a lot of work to do. The other one what we wanted to talk about today, Christina, is the Canadian dollar. And it's getting close to winter, and a lot of us Canadians go south in the winter and travel, or we buy goods from our largest trading partner, the United States of America. And the Canadian dollar right now is around 73 and change, 74, depends what day you're listening to this. That's a big change from a year ago. A year ago, the Canadian dollar was 81 cents US. Okay, 81 cents versus 73 cents. Well, it's 8 cents. But if you do the equivalent on how many Canadian dollars do you need to buy the American, it's an extra 11%. So whatever you were buying US dollars for, well, you're going to have to pay an extra 11%. So on top of the 10% inflation, or really probably 15 or 20, we'll talk in another podcast about real inflation. You go to the States now, you're going to pay an extra 11% just on the currency exchange change in the past year, plus the 8, 10, 20%, whatever inflation is, plus if you're buying real estate, the higher interest rates. So, not a lot of good news there on the Canadian dollar, but that's the update on that.
Yeah, it'll be tough for the travel. Those snowbirds going down. It'll be much more expensive this year. So make sure you get your budgets and your cash flow plans in order for that. The next thing we want to chat about is the stock market. So still seeing a lot of volatility out there in the stock market. And depending on the day when you're listening to this, take this with a grain of salt. But we have seen over the month of October, the S&P 500 was up about 4% and the Canadian TSX was up around 2.5%. So nice to see it trending upwards. We are still seeing lots of volatility in the market. We don't know what this interest rate increase is going to do. We don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty out there with the word recession buzzing around. So not sure where the markets are going, but it is nice to see that little bump over the month of October that investors have been seeing.
Yeah, and nice to see. We're certainly not out of the woods in the stock market, and still down significantly year to date with more volatility to come. Then next on our list we have Bitcoin, and Bitcoin it is still down 60% year to date. Now it's down a little bit less in Canada because of that currency swing we talked about, 56%, but 50 to 60% drop in Bitcoin year to date. Now we keep mentioning Bitcoin. We don't really talk about it on the shows, but we're going to update you later in this monthly update about some Bitcoin news.
Thanks for listening so far. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Hit the button on YouTube, and more importantly, if you're finding value from this content, reach out to us on our website, controlandcompound.com.
And then what's next, Christina?
Real estate update. So what's going on a national level in real estate? What are we seeing out there?
Yeah, and I'll speak to the national numbers, but I want to caution people listening that, this is the national numbers. It may have zero impact on your life, but it just gives you an idea what's going across the country, because we're seeing massive market swings in some regions of the country. The places that went up the most or tend to the dropping the most. Now we're seeing some strength in, Alberta, and some parts of Canada that are resource dependent, that when those things start coming back up. But, I'll give you the numbers, but again, the only number that really matters is what's going on in your world. So your real estate world, your homes, your rentals, what region you're in. But nationally, sales were down 3.9% month over month. So that's in 1 month, they dropped 3.9%. Monthly activity was down 32%. So that's the big one, people in the real estate world look for activity, down 32%, not as many transactions happening. New listings were down 0.8% month over month, and the price was down 1.4% nationally in a 1 month period. Now, again, on a year to date basis, the national price is actually still up 3.3%. So again, don't get too worked up. Now, again, these are national numbers, not your numbers, but 1.4% down for the month, 3.3% up year to date. So year to date nationally, homes or housing prices are still up, but certainly mortgage costs are up considerably. So when you go to buy that same home now, it's going to cost you a lot more money. But that's the real estate update nationally.
Yeah, exactly, Darren. We don't want to blanket it across Canada. It's definitely different. I think I read a news line the other day that some of the sales in Toronto, the prices are up. So in different places, there's different times when it comes to the real estate market. We are seeing that listing activity down. I do think that's because people, they're nervous to sell in a down market. They want to hold on to it. So people are finding they're putting renters in and doing rentals and different things on that side of it. So, lots of different activity out there. Next, we want to chat about the podcast. So podcast we did last month. We had quite a controversial one, I guess. The Dave Ramsey podcast came out. Infinite banking, is it a scam? So if you haven't listened to that, you want to go back and have a listen. That was a great one. We also had one on retirement risks. So reducing retirement risks using your death benefit to reduce those retirement risks. Ticket to spend money is kind of what that one was. So we had that one come out this month. We also had a podcast on healthcare spending accounts. So if you are a incorporated business owner, that is definitely not one to miss. You want to take a listen to that, learn a bit more about the healthcare spending account. We also had the volatility buffer that came out, talking about these volatile times. How can we protect ourselves against volatility? That is what we discussed in this podcast. So if you're interested, you want to check that one out as well. And then busting RSP myths. That one came out just last week, which is another one. So great list of podcasts for this last month.
Love it. Yeah, no, we had some really good feedback on a number of those. The Dave Ramsey, we enjoyed doing that. But the other ones, that healthcare spending account, $0 cost to set up, and you get a bunch of tax advantages if you have a health claim. Like, some of those I think are just, every business owner, every incorporated individual should have that. And then we've got some C&C news, Control and Compound news. Christina, what's going on at Control and Compound about this contest we're going to have?
Well, we do. We have a contest for this month. So we're starting a contest. It's going to be on, so if you're listening on YouTube or you're listening on a podcast platform, there are both ways, both ways you're going to be able to win. So what we want to do is if you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, you're going to want to go out, you're going to want to give a 5-star rating and leave a review. And then we're going to be picking a winner next month for a $50 Amazon gift card. So the same thing goes on your YouTube. You want to make sure that you subscribe, hit that bell button, leave a comment. We are going to pick one on each platform that's going to receive a $50 Amazon gift card. So we're excited to start these monthly contests for all of our listeners and viewers out there because, we like giving away prizes and we like you listening and giving that feedback. So win-win.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we appreciate any feedback too, or any questions, or any podcasts you want to see. Feel free to reach out to us and make some suggestions. And then one of the suggestions we've had quite a bit, Christina, is Bitcoin. What is this Bitcoin? How does it work? Does it make sense? Should it be part of my thing? And we are going to have a Bitcoin expert on the podcast next month.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that one. We're going to have a podcast coming out with Bitcoin. Another one that listeners have asked for is a frequently asked questions podcast. So as you see those questions coming up on the screen, we have compiled a list of all of those frequently asked questions on the infinite banking strategy, and we're going to nail those out one by one. So that's going to be coming out in November as well.
Wow. Fantastic. All right. So that's the monthly update. Anything else, Christina, before we sign off?
Nope. I think that's for it for the November update.
All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you always know when new content is coming out. For more helpful tips and tricks, visit our Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok pages at Control and Compound. If you want to reach out to us directly or work with us, visit our website at controlandcompound.com. The links are in the show notes below. See you next episode.